It's great to meet
Okay,
you.
cool. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, where are you located?
I'm currently in Peru, in Lima.
Oh, you're in Peru. Okay, all right, excellent. Well,
I
cool. Well, I'm
arrived here like 2 days ago.
okay. All right, excellent. Well, I'm
Yeah,
looking forward to getting into the new album. I'm looking forward to getting in. It's a wonderful project. Looking forward to getting into your world of music. So, thank you again for taking a minute out today.
cool. Thank you.
You bet. So, before we get into the new album, I want to begin with 5 years ago, this pandemic was changing so much for all of us, especially musicians. How did you
hmm
get through the pandemic era, and how has it influenced the way that you do things and create today?
Well, the pandemic era got me here actually in Lima, Peru. I was living here for 3 years. Before that, I was living in Buenos Aires. I started my career there, and I developed a whole body of work with many projects as a lead man and as a side man as well. And when I came to live here in Peru, I got the invitation to work as a chief curator of the jazz festival in Lima. And I was working a lot on that kind of less of a musical work and more of cultural agent kind of work. Yeah, as a curator and so. And it was going pretty well. And then at some point, when the pandemic starts, everything just super shut down here in Peru. And it actually became a nightmare. And it made me question myself lots of things about like how much effort I was putting on playing live shows, either with money or without money, but just willing to play. Um, it kind of changed me. Like I think the pandemic was the moment when I definitely quit all type of contacts and commitments I had with any kind of free jazz slash jazz type of music. I mean, I love free improvisation as a composition process, and for me it's great, but I started to do not engage anymore with like free improvised music scenes, and so for me, it was definitely a turning point, the pandemic. Also, I started to, as I was not able to go to recording studios, I built my own home studio and started to work there. So I also started to work as a recording engineer, mixing engineer, and that somehow pushed me into being a producer as well of my own music. And then I also started working as a producer for others' music, which was quite, yeah, it was a learning process. And then, I started to work a lot with electroacoustic synthesis, and I started to develop and discover ways to process electronically the sound of the flute and the type of extended techniques that I was playing and developing in the flute. I started to like make a research about which kind of electronic processings I would like to try for these specific extended techniques. And since then, I think that happened in the middle of 2020, and since then, that has been my journey, I think, artistically. Or at least that has been like quite structural for what I'm doing right now.
And you are in a trio right now. Is it Algol? Is that how you say it correctly?
Algol, yeah.
Okay, Algol. So you got quite a swath of the world. You got Christian from Germany, Elias from Austria, you're in Peru. Talk to me a little bit about how this band convened and the album that you made.
Sure. I met Elias Stemeseder when we were in I was in New York for about 4 or 5 months in 2022, and we met then, and then I was back in 2023 there, and we started playing together. I knew they had this like long-standing duo collaborative project, Elias and Christian. And as soon as we started playing together, me and Elias invited me to play with him and Christian, and he said they wanted to try out to play out of their already super fixed scenes and environments, which are basically like the whole jazz world in Europe and the jazz world in the USA and Canada. So they really wanted to push their own boundaries and get out from the jazz thing and get out from their comfort zone in a way. I think they knew I was working in a more artistic environment in Mexico because after the pandemic I moved to Mexico City. In December of 2020 I moved to Mexico City and is where I still live right now when I'm not on tour. Um, and yeah, at some point, I mean, first I was gonna go to New York to record with them, but then that didn't happen. And then at some point they were doing something in Texas, and after Texas they wanted to come to Mexico City, and that was in February of 2024, and they came to Mexico City to play with me. There we did a tour and we recorded this first album that we just published. And yeah, after that we had some concerts in Europe, in Berlin, Austria. We've played many times already in Vienna. Yeah, and now we just finished this long tour in Mexico City, Sao Paulo, Brazil, and Buenos Aires and Mar del Plata in Argentina. And now we have another tour in March where we are also playing in Mexico, then here in Lima, Peru, and then we go to Colombia, Medellin and Bogota, and later on in April we play in Switzerland. We have something in May in Brussels and also in Germany. And then in the fall we're playing in Austria again. So it's like a yeah, it's ongoing, but that's basically the story. And I mean they work together as a duo and they have different collaborations with some incredible musicians like Craig Taborn, Tim Lefebvre, Peter Evans, some really great people. Um, and somehow they started this collaboration with me as one of their other collaborations, but somehow it became more of a strong thing, and that's why we called it the band Algol and also the album. And now it's like the trio is already its own thing, and it's different from just like the duo plus the guest. It's more like it's a unity. It's like a language sort of structures that we play. I mean, we've been composing music while touring and working on new ideas, how to play, when, where, what to play, how, I mean, we compose a lot of music and we're also looking for environments and circumstances where we can work together for like a week. I think in the fall we will have like a week in a studio in Switzerland where we will probably work on the next album. So that's kind of the work modi.
So give me an idea of your beginnings. How did music become your life? How did this start?
I started playing music when I was a child. I was 5 years old when I started to play the flute. I started little percussion and flute when I was very, very young in a music school here in Lima, Peru. And I just never stopped. And when I finished high school, I moved to Argentina to Buenos Aires, where I studied first classical music, then I studied at the jazz faculty, then I studied composition. And I think something that has somehow defined my creative processes is to do not label myself as anything at any point. I think I was very lucky to be able to develop my career that way. So, as you know, I was very into the jazz world at some point, but the flute wasn't really a jazz instrument ever. So it wasn't really like important for anybody to have a flutist, which in a way I've made me very lucky because I didn't end up being ensembles, writing my music for them, all with incredible musicians, and I didn't want to be labeled as a composer neither, you know, and then I started my own record label with Violeta Garcia and Carlos Quebrada, which is called TVL Rec. And same thing, like we put it out to the world, the label, and we didn't want to label ourselves as just label people, you know. It was like a total, it was always an artist run type of label, focus on experimental music and yeah, boundaries pushing type of music projects from a whole generation of people who we were all friends, and everybody was at that moment living in Buenos Aires, Argentina. It was somehow there, it was a melting point for very talented people from all over America Latina. And it was an interesting moment. Yeah. And then, of course, I'm sometimes hired to play contemporary music or yeah, some more academic environments and some other more jazzy environments, and I do it as a job, and that's fine. But I think I feel really privileged that I never had to label myself as anything, you know, as neither like a contemporary music musician or right now. I think at some point some people wanted to really relate me on a review that I had. They wanted to like label me as a noise music musician, which I think I am absolutely not, even though some sounds I play can be like pure noise. But my, you know, my research goes in a different way, in a different path, and my inspiration comes from different places, and I don't I know my privilege and I really value it, and I think it's huge because I think other musicians feels like the urgency of label themselves as something, so they really raise up their career in that specific field. And for me it's not that way, and my curiosity and my imagination, I think, has led me to be able to also research different, I don't know, traditional musics from all over the world and study that, and then steal something from that and bring it to my compositions and to my playing as well. I'm really inspired by many different types of flutes around the world, and even though I play the metal transverse flute, I think I see the flute as a very expansive instrument, which is a kind of a human experiment with the acoustic matter. And for me, I mean, I have played many different types of flute, and I really get inspiration from different ways of playing other flutes, like the Fula flute from Africa or the Bansuri from India, or the Sicurist troops from Peru and the Andean world, different flutes from the Amazonian that I also use. And at some point, I started to also, since a few, like since 3 or 4 years ago, I also started to work in my own way on like experimental luthery, and I started to, after I discovered some specific preparations and extended techniques on the flute, I wanted to develop instruments that are made to play only these specific extended techniques and preparations, and that's why I did a glass flute, which is a new experiment that I will put out to the world soon next year. But yeah, based on my own research, I started to also create different instruments that are flutes that are just different, and yeah, yeah.
So let me ask you this. What was the first live show you saw growing up that made you think, I want to do that one day?
I don't know what I thought about it, but definitely I was a baby and I went to hear my uncle and my mother dancing in a concert of very traditional music of sicuris, which is a very specific, really, really old music from the Andes, from Peru, that is extremely beautiful, extremely powerful, and I don't know if then I thought about, oh, this is what I want to do, but I was already doing it actually in a way. I was like 4 years old and they were teaching me how to play these pan flutes. And that's how I started. Yeah, maybe there has been many concerts where I ended up being really inspired and really loving music and really wanting to continue a path of working in this art field. But I mean, everything started so early for me that I don't really have the memory of thinking, okay, this is what I want to do.
Yeah. So what do you like the best about being a professional musician? What gets you up every day? What motivates you to evolve and love the music?
Well, definitely connecting with incredible people, the people I feel so lucky to have share work and time and friendship and inspiration for sure in my journey of music, I think is the most incredible thing, like right now, I mean, I'm playing a lot with Christian Lillinger and Elias Stemeseder, and they're great friends with me, and we share a lot. They're great human beings, but also since I don't know, more than 10 years ago, playing a lot with some of my best friends like Violeta Garcia, Carlos Quebrada, all the people from my ensemble, Nicotina Primavera. And then also, of course, some people that I met through music situations and started to work together, like when I met Pauline Oliveros in the OMI International Arts Center, and I also met Marina Abramovic then. And I mean, I think that something really good about music is how we can connect through sound, through music, through the ideas surrounding music. The people who are like curating concert series and music festivals all around the world, I think are usually, when they are good people, they are really interesting people because they are really paying a lot of attention in a different way to everything that is happening in the music world globally. And I think we as musicians, we also pay a lot of attention and we are really aware of a lot, but with a different eye. And I have really enjoyed in the last years especially in Europe, to kind of understand how they develop like a curation and a vision on how they program artists and the reasons why they want this specific artist and so on. So, and also the reasons why they want me, it makes me understand how people are relating with my work, to be
So,
said in a general way.
yeah, for sure. So, if anyone wants to pick up a copy of the new album, catch you live, anything else that's going on in your world, where can they go?
I have everything on my website always. Concerts and my email is there. Anybody can reach, just send me an email and I can send any vinyls. My solo vinyl came out earlier this year. This Algol's album is the newest one. And yeah, and 2026 is a year full of new albums that are really special and really looking forward for that also. I
Wonderful.
mean, I also use Instagram, sadly. I hope one day to stop using it, but that's also a way to communicate if people want it.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I will put links out there in the show notes. Hey, thank you so much. Thank you for taking a minute out for Neon Jazz.
Yeah,
Thank
sure.
you for the
Thank you,
music.
Joe.
Yeah, you bet.